Now we are going to be using the method of completing the square to solve quadratic equations. We have this equation x squared minus 4x minus 2 is equal to 0, and we've been asked to use the method of completing the square to solve it. Now we are going to get this equation, we're going to get this constant to go over to this side. We are going to have x squared minus 4x minus 2 goes over the equal to sign to become a positive 2. Now the coefficient of x, which is minus 4, we are going to divide it by 2 and we are going to square that value. Minus 4 divided by 2 is minus 2. When we square minus 2, we are going to get 4. So this 4 is what we'll be adding to this part of the equation to make it to be a perfect square. And now this 4, we are going to add it to both sides of the equation. So we have x squared minus 4x plus 4 is equal to 2 plus that 4. And then we already learned how to see the bracket of this perfect square, which is x, and we pick out that minus 2. That's just half of the coefficient of x, which is minus 2 squared. So this bracket is what we have as this. You can go ahead and try it out. And then 2 plus 4 is 6. We're going to get the square root of both sides. When we get the square root of both sides, we are going to square cancels square root. X minus 2 is equal to plus or minus root 6. So x is equal to minus 2 comes over to become a positive 2 plus or minus the square root of 6. And this root 6 is not a whole number, so we are going to leave our answers like this, that x is equal to 2 plus root 6 or 2 minus root 6. That is what we can say as x is equal to 2 plus or minus root 6. Now let's solve another example. Now let's solve this example. X squared minus 5x plus 6 is equal to 0. The first thing we do, we send the constant over to this side. X squared minus 5x stays on this side, and then plus 6 goes over this equal to sign to become a minus 6. Then the coefficient of x is minus 5. We are going to get the half of it and we are going to square it. Now, the half of minus 5 is a fraction. It's better let's work with the improper fraction. So when we square this, we are going to get 25 over 4. And that is what we are going to be adding to both sides of the equation. Plus 25 over 4 plus 25 over 4. Okay, so we have it as x squared minus 5x plus 25 over 4 is equal to. Now, on this our rough work side, we continue to add up this. So we have minus 6 over 1 plus 25 over 4. Now we have that the square root, the denominator should be 4. That's the LCM of the denominators is 4. 1 into 4 is 4, and then 4 times minus 6 is minus 24. 4 into itself is 1 times 25, that's 25. So we have that minus 24 plus 25, which is like saying 25 minus 24 is equal to 1, and it's over 4. So we have that this addition is equal to 1 over 4. Now, this part of the equation, we are going to get it as that this is already a perfect square. So the bracket that gave us this is equal to this x and then half of the b minus 5 over 2 squared is equal to, remember, 1 over 4. Now we want to isolate x. The square root, we're going to square root both sides so that this squared cancels out this square root. We have that x minus 5 over 2 is equal to plus or minus. Now, root 1 over 4 is equal to half because the root of 1 is 1, that is the square root of 1 is 1, and the square root of 4 is 2. So, we can get this out of this square root. Okay, and it's a plus or minus because plus half times plus half is equal to 1 over 4, and minus half times minus half is equal to 1 over 4. Now, x will now be equal to minus 5 over 2 comes over this equal to sign to become a plus 5 over 2. And we still have this, did I say 5 over 5? 5 over 2, sorry, plus or minus 1 over 2. Thank God they both have. So we're going to, remember this is plus or minus, so we're going to solve for the plus, we are going to solve for the minus. When we say it's still over 2, right? Over 2. 5 plus 1, since they have common denominator, so the answer will still have over 2. 5 plus 1 is 6. And for this other side, okay, let's get it to the lowest terms. 6 over 2 is 3. And for this other side, we are going to have their common denominator is 2. 5 minus 1 is 4. 4 over 2 is 2. Therefore, x is equal to 3 or 2. Do we say 2 or 3? We go from less to greater. Now let's solve this other example whereby x squared has a coefficient greater than 1. In this case, we have 3. So the first step we take is not to get our constant over to this other side. The first step we take is to make the coefficient of x equal to 1. That is by dividing all through by this coefficient of x that is greater than 1. So we are going to be saying divided by 3, divided by 3, divided by 3, and of course 0 divided by 3. Okay, so that 3 divide itself, it's 1, so that x squared is now just x squared, and then minus 4 over 3x plus 1 over 3 is equal to 0, because 0 divided by 3 is 0. So we've gotten our x squared to have a coefficient of 1. Now we continue with the normal steps we take. The next step we have to take is what? That's right, to take this constant over to this other side of the equation. We have x squared minus 4 over 3x plus 3 comes over the equal to side to become minus 1 over 3. Now, our next step is to take the coefficient of x, half it, and square it. So the coefficient of x is minus 4 over 3. To half it is to multiply by half, and we are going to square it. So to multiply this by half, it becomes minus 4 over 6, because that's 4 times minus 4 times 1 is minus 4, 3 times 2 is 6. And remember, we have to square it. When we square it, we are going to be having 16 over 36. Now we continue. 16 over 36. So this is what we are going to be adding to both sides of our equation. 16 over 36 plus 16 over 36. Now for this part, we really need to solve this fraction, and we'll be solving it by hand so that we can revise all those things we've done in junior school or previously. So we have that 16 over 36, this is just like saying minus 1 over 3. The LCM for the denominator is 36. 36 into itself is 36, right? So 16 3 into 36, that's 12. 12 times 1 is 12, so minus 12. 16 minus 12 is 4. So we're going to be having 4 over 36. 4 over 36. So that is what this part is going to give us. So we get this part to become that perfect square, which is x, and then half of this, which is minus 4 over 6 squared. Remember where we solved it, minus 4 over 6 is equal to 4 over 36. Now, we can get this to its lowest terms, or we can leave it, yeah, let's just leave it as this. So now, we are going to get the square root of both sides as x minus 4 over 6 is equal to plus or minus the square root of 4 is 2. The square root of 36 is 6. So plus or minus 2 over 6. Now we are going to isolate x. X now becomes minus 4 over 6 comes over to this side to become 4 over 6 plus or minus 2 over 6. Now, we have, thank God they have same denominator, so 6. 4 plus 2 now becomes 6, right? So 6 over 6 is 1. For this other part, we have 6. 4 minus 2 is 2. 2 over 6 is 1 over 3. That's the lowest terms. Therefore, x is equal to 1 over 3 or 1. So this is it. We can see we are solving by method of completing the square. For us to get a rational number, that means this given question is factorizable, but that's the idea, is just for us to practice the method of completing the square. Now let's solve one more example. We've been given 5x squared plus 8x minus 2. So our first step is to reduce the coefficient of x squared to 1. That is by dividing both sides by that coefficient. Dividing all through by that coefficient. So we have x squared plus 8 over 5x minus 2 over 5 is equal to 0. Now the next step is for us to take these constants over to this other side of the equation. We have x squared plus 8 over 5x is equal to minus 2 over 5 comes over to be 2 over 5. Now we get the coefficient of x, half it and square it. That is plus 8 over 5. Halving it is by multiplying by half, and then we square it. 8 times 1 is 8, 5 times 2 is 10. So this is half of that coefficient. We square it. When we square it, we are going to get 64 over 100. So this value is what we'll be adding to both sides of this equation. Plus 64 over 100 plus 64 over 100. So we are going to be getting this part to look like that perfect square bracket, which is this x and the half of this coefficient of x, which we got here, 8 over 10, and is to be squared. Always remember it should carry this sign. Okay, is equal to, now let's come over to this side to do this addition. 2 over 5 plus 64 over 100. The LCM of the denominator is 100. 5 into 100 is 20 times 2, which is 40. 100 into 100 is 100 times 64, which is 64. So plus 64. 40 plus 64 is 104 over 100. So this sum gives us 104 over 100. Now we are going to get the square root of both sides. When we get the square root of both sides, we are going to have x plus 8 over 10 is equal to plus or minus 104. We can't get it out of this square root, so it still remains 104. But 100, we can get it out of this square root. The root of 100 is 10. So we have this. Now, let's isolate x. X now becomes 8 over 10. That is negative 8 over 10, because this is positive. It goes over to become negative. Plus or minus the square root of 104 divided by 10. So we can get it together in this form, that x is equal to minus 8 plus or minus the square root of 104 all over 10, since they have a common denominator. And this one, we can't get it as a whole number square root. So let's just leave our answer like this. Okay. So this is just it. We have to just keep on practicing, following the steps one by one. Completing the square method is really easy. Just follow the steps and you arrive at a very good answer.